Hello, all, and welcome to the Around the Ballpark podcast. My name is Mike Redmond. I am your host, alongside, of course, my co-host, my brother, Darren Redmond is here as well. So welcome to the podcast. We have Don Schott with us on tonight. We're going to get to know him, who he is, where he's from. We're going to have so much fun. We have a lot to talk about. But before we do that, of course, we got to welcome you to the Around the Ballpark podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Around the Ballpark podcast. As mentioned, we're going to have so much fun with you tonight on this Thursday night, October the 30th. Not quite Halloween. It's Halloween Eve, I guess you can call it. For those that celebrate or those that do not, thank you. Welcome to be here with us as well. But tonight, guys, we are here. We have a very special guest. Sometimes it's just the two of us, handsome gentlemen, but other times we're gracious enough to have a very special guest with us. And so that is the case tonight. And so that very special guest is Don Schott. Don, thank you so much. Welcome to the podcast. First time on with us.
Thank you.
I know we kind of talked about this like a month or two ago, so I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. So if you wouldn't mind just starting with just, who you are, where you're from, that sort of thing. And let the listeners get to know you a little bit. We do see got about 7 of you already in with us. So let us know you're here in the chat. But Don, how are you doing?
Good.
Awesome. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing where you're from, what you do, all that kind of stuff. Just a quick background with that.
Well, I grew up in Wisconsin. I was a CPA in my working life. Then I became disabled 30 years ago. And after a few years, I met and married a woman from Minnesota. So I moved to Minnesota about 15 years ago. And then a couple of years ago, we moved down here to Florida. We were tired of the Minnesota snowstorms and below zero weather. So
I bet I was actually on the phone before this podcast tonight with Dr. Guy Henry, which we've had on the podcast in the past before. And him and his wife had to go to Michigan for 2 weeks, and he is not a fan of the cold weather. He's not miserable, but he's ready to come back to the warm. Although tomorrow is going to be our one day of cold weather before January. It's going to be a high of 57 degrees.
Yeah,
nowhere, which is fantastic for down here. And Darren, what is it by you in Cape Cod?
Right now, it's about 55 and cool and cold, rainy, blistery, and So I missed Steve.
You should have told Guy, Michigan in October, that ain't cold.
No. I think for our bodies, we're so adjusted to the warm every day that it's a shock, But Darren, of course, as we always do before we talk about all the fun stuff, we have to give a shout out to our proud sponsors over at Nashville Tax Solutions for all the great things that they do, Chris Bennett and team. So if you wouldn't mind taking it away.
Hey, if you're dealing with tax issues, maybe you're behind on filings or you got hit with a lien. Hey, it happens. Let me tell you about Nashville Tax Solutions. These folks know their stuff, and they actually care about helping you fix it. I've heard from people right here in Palm Bay and Fort Pierce who said Chris Bennett and his team turned a financial nightmare into peace of mind. That's the kind of help you want to have on your side. So if tax stress is keeping you up, call 855-627-4829. Visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. Nashville Tax Solutions, real people, real results, and real relief too. And by the way, because we love Chris Bennett and we love Nashville Tax Solutions, my brother. I love him dearly. He tried to break me by putting my buddy up there, and he almost did. But you know what? Got to pay the bills.
You do so well. So Don and Don's wife Mary is watching with us as well. She's off to the side, but she's there. You could but for whatever reason, I don't even know how it came about, but Paddington Bear, we brought him onto the podcast many episodes ago. So we always find a way to sneak him in to every episode. So as you can see, he's spotting the National Solutions on his t-shirt there. So great job not to bust during the read for that. So super cool. And guys, we're in double digits now in viewers, so thank all 11 of you for jumping on with us. We've got a full slate of stuff to talk about. So one of the main things we're going to do tonight, of course, is we're going to talk about the book Finding Hope. But before we do that, I wanted to kind of just backtrack a little bit, if that's okay, Don. So you mentioned, you came from Wisconsin and now you're here in Florida, but I'd like to highlight, and I know it's covered in the book as well, but I'd like to just start with how you, just a quick description of how you came to Christ, how that came about. Was it here in Florida? Was it in Wisconsin? What time of your life and that sort of thing. I'd love to start there, and then we'll kind of dive into the book after that.
Well, I grew up in a Catholic home, and I knew about God, and I believed in God, but I didn't have a relationship with him. And after I was married to my first wife a few years, we got involved with a church, evangelical free church, that the people were different. They knew God and they studied the Bible, and we ended up joining that church and got closer to God. And then after my accident, I got even closer to God and depended on God, and he became part of my daily life.
And you said that was about how many years ago?
Well, my accident was 30 years ago, so I would call myself a born-again Christian at the time of my accident, but then I grew closer over the next 30 years of challenges. I grew closer to God, so.
Grew closer, yeah. I remember, for me at least, and Darren, I'd love to get your thoughts on it too, but I remember for me, there was the period I was born and raised Catholic, and it got to the point I knew that something had to kind of change, because I was finding myself just in this pattern. It was like, and again, by no means what I'm about to say is any knock on Catholics or anything like that. It was sit, stand, kneel, song, homily, gospel. It was just the same. And I was like, I need something more, and so I remember it was a small period of time where it kind of just got away, as most people might at some point. And then, of course, was able to. I tried a few local churches here, and I think it was really like the third or fourth church. But when I say I tried a few churches, it was like a week or two here, a week or two there. I kind of knew pretty early on that the house church was the church for me, and it was non-denominational. Of course, when I went, the first 2 months, I enjoyed everything that Pastor Kenny was saying. But I would say the first 2 or 3 months, I sat there like Mr. Grumpy Pants. Like, I was like, what is this? Like, what is this guitars and these drums and these vocalists? Like, I'm used to just hymns and all this stuff. And so it was a culture shock. And then I remember one day just saying, like, what the heck? Let me put my hands in the air and see what happens. And I haven't looked back since then. But Darren, do you remember a time in your life where you kind of like things felt stale in terms of?
Yeah, and I want to, it's funny, we're talking to a wonderful author here, and I like to read, though I do listen to a lot of my books as well. And I think it's something that C.S. Lewis wrote in his wonderful work, Mere Christianity. And he talked about sometimes when you have questions, that's when you're actually closest to God, because you're actually wondering and you're seeking and you're trying to find something. That in itself means that it's there. You just have to find out what it is. And sometimes what speaks loudly is when you get real quiet. For me, what works best for me is I am into very quiet, kind of meditative, kind of by myself, and it's very, very interesting. And not that anything is political or not. And anybody who knows me, who's listening to this right now, or watching us, they know this to be true. There's a wonderful song by Johnny Cash called "The Man in Black," and he explains
Yes.
why he wears black. And when you see me at church every Sunday, and I say that with no hubris, I try to sit in the front row, front seat if I can get there. If not, that's fine. I go sit somewhere else. But I wear shorts, usually use shorts unless it's really, really cold. I wear a hoodie, and I wear, just like I'm going to the gym, because sometimes I go after. And you might say to yourself, why? That's kind of disrespectful. You should put on your Sunday best. And again, if people do, I love that. That's wonderful. But for me, I try to represent those who feel marginalized, to let them know that the church, whether it's Episcopalian, whether it's Catholic, whether it's non-denominational, is there for everyone. God loves you who you are at the moment you are right there. Come, you are welcome.
Right, where you're at. Exactly.
Yep, so that's what I do.
That's, and I'm the same way. Like, I feel myself less distracted by like squirrels or random noises and things like that if I'm in the front. If I'm like way in the back, I can get a little bit more distracted. We used to call that the splash zone. Like, we wouldn't get, if you wouldn't get prayed by the pastor, right? But now I don't care. I'm getting up there. He's not going to call me up front on stage. If he does, I'll be okay. I've got the Holy Spirit with me, and it's fine if I mess up. God's grace, right? But
Amen.
So of course I'm a front row kind of person. So, but so Donald, the book I like to discuss. I wish I had a copy. Oh wait, hold on. I do have a copy. I purchased the thing. Surprise. So we're talking about this book here, and you got a copy as well, I'm sure. Finding Hope. So I want to ask you, Donald, in terms of, before we get into the book itself, the thought process behind the title, coming up with the title of the book, and then what it's like for those that may not know, the process of getting it from pen to paper to published to available for people all over the world.
Well, I started writing and I didn't have a title, and then somewhere along the line, a friend of ours said something about hope, and I ran that around my brain for a while, and I landed on Finding Hope. And then how the title actually evolved is a story. See, I made a Word document, all these pages in a Word document. Then you hire someone online to format it, put the page numbers in and chapter breaks and the table of contents and everything. And then you hire someone to put the cover on. Now, when I went to hire a cover person, I had these names to choose from, and they were all foreigners. Nothing against foreigners, but I chose a lady who had good reviews, and she happened to be from Pakistan.
Oh, nice.
So I sent the picture I wanted and the title I wanted, Finding Hope, to this lady in Pakistan. And when she sent it back, she had added Through the Struggles, Finding Hope Through the Struggles. And at first I thought that's kind of bold of her to add words without getting my approval. But I am so glad she did. Because when you Google Finding Hope, there's more books. But when you Google Finding Hope Through the Struggles, you get my book.
Love that.
Oh, really? That's I love that.
It was a God thing.
Yeah. Now, so the book is, I see a question in the chat here from Soupede. We love Soupede. Soupede,
yes, we do.
Always on with us. So thank you, Soupede. But he says, is the book available on Amazon? That's a great question.
Yes, it is on Amazon. Go to the search bar and type in Finding Hope Through the Struggles, and you'll get to my book.
Okay. Did you know that we have another avid reader of this book, Darren? Did you know this?
No, let me see.
Right there. Yep.
There
Right
you
there.
go. I love that. I love that. Still not wearing pants. Still not wearing pants.
He just refuses to put those on. But the weather is getting cooler. Maybe it'll start to happen. But so I want to ask you. So Don. So my question to start with. So as we said, you mentioned you went from Wisconsin to Florida, and whatnot. But if you wouldn't mind, kind of talking a little bit about, you mentioned and whatever you're comfortable with sharing, of course. But you had mentioned 30 years ago. The incident that happened, like if you would mind kind of sharing what happened 30 years ago to cause the incident, that sort of thing. And then where your kind of your mindset was right after that incident and the struggles that because I'm sure it's covered in the book as well, in the discharge job loss chapter. But if you wouldn't mind sharing that with those watching.
Sure. I was a avid hunter living in Wisconsin, and my brother put together a group to go out to Colorado and hunt elk, bow hunt elk. And I jumped onto that group. I thought it sounded fun. So we drove out there. We set up in a campground. We were going to be there a week. And on the first day, we got there in the afternoon. So that on the next day, I went out, did some scouting, found a good place to set up for a hunting stand that later that day. And I went back and had an early dinner, or no, lunch actually. And then I left for my hunting stand. And right away I realized I forgot my duffel bag of warm clothes. And it was due to get cold that evening. So I went back to camp to get my warm clothes. And now I'm running a little bit late to start a hunt. I like to usually sit 3 hours, ending when the sun goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I asked the guy who had an ATV if I could take his ATV out to my stand. It was probably a mile or two from our campsite. A couple miles. And he said, sure. And I knew it didn't have brakes, but I was experienced at slowing the machine down by downshifting. So I didn't think it'd be a problem. I left for my stand with the ATV with no brakes. And I went down a hill and hit a tree and was knocked unconscious. And my brother and his buddies found me later that night. And they called an ambulance and they loaded me in the back of a truck, and met the ambulance halfway to the hospital. I went to the hospital and they called all my siblings and my wife and got them all to come out to Colorado. I had brain surgery for a hematoma on my head. And after a few days out there, transferred me back to Marshfield, Wisconsin, which is 30 miles from my home. And I woke up out of my coma in Marshfield Hospital.
Wow. Now, you mentioned, because they found you sometime later, like, do we know like a ballpark of how long that might have been? Or
it was like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
At night. So it was like 5 hours late, 6 hours after I left camp.
Wow.
So I was laying there quite a while, and the people at the hospital, when they called my family to come out, they thought they didn't know if they were going to make it.
Wow.
But they did, and God wasn't ready for me yet, so here I am. I went through months of rehab, PT, trying to get my walk better. I was discharged from the hospital in Marshfield in a wheelchair. and I did outpatient physical therapy for months and never did get my walk back completely. I got to the point of walking with a cane.
Did um, the injury, or the situation that happened in terms of moving to Florida, in terms of, you know, the weather, like just talking about the weather just for a moment, because some people might overlook that, but obviously compared to Florida, it's very, very cool. It's damp. Things, I'm sure, probably hurt a little bit more, that sort of thing. Was your reason for moving down, or was one of the main reasons moving from Wisconsin down to Florida because of just the weather conditions, all that sort of stuff? You were over being cold all the time and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the weather.
Yeah.
I was in Wisconsin when I had my accident. And 20 years later, I met Mary from Minnesota. I moved to Winona, Minnesota, where we lived for 15 years. But Mary was in agreement with me that we did not like that weather. Her last job was a 30-mile each way to work, and she was fed up with snowstorms and driving in the snowstorms. In fact, the night of our first date, we talked about, she talked about visiting Florida, and she said someday she's going to move to Florida. And I said, how's that going to happen? She said, I don't know.
We have a question from Sports Fan. Another 2P and Sports Fan are two MVPs. But Sports Fan says, how long have you and your wife, been married?
We've been married 13 years.
13 years. Now, this is a question for both of you, just in regards to that part of it. I just got to ask this. It was, at least for us, like, we knew that we were married 8 years or 9 years, but like, is it okay to forget like the amount of years? Because I feel like, for whatever, like, obviously you're going to know the big milestones because it's easy to do the math, right?
Let her answer first and just agree.
Yeah,
that's good advice, Darren.
I don't let him forget. No.
Yeah.
No, he's going to remember always.
Well, and that is truth, because we talk about it every now and then. It comes up, so it's never far from our minds.
Yeah. Too, because, like, Eileen, one thing that she does, she teaches Monday through Friday, and one of the most important things is when they count the children in the classroom. Like, if someone were to come in and say how many children are in this class, you can't go look around and go 1, 2, 3. You have to know, like, immediately, I've got 17, I've got 23. So
yeah.
I want to be with anniversaries. Like, I'm not worried about the 1 year anniversary from our first kiss, or the 1 year anniversary, or the 3 year anniversary from the first time we had Taco Bell. Like, I'm not worried about those kinds of anniversaries. Some people, I think, celebrate everything, but
Right.
I think I got to remember in my mind, okay, it's been this amount of years right away. And if I don't know, go to her and see what she says. I think that's the way to go.
Well, we have an easy anniversary of our first date to remember, because our first date was April Fool's Day.
That's smart.
And how many years ago, dear?
That was 14 years ago.
Oh, I love that. So, can I ask a couple questions?
Oh, please
if
do.
You don't mind,
Yeah.
If you don't mind, and before we even get into the book, because I'd love to unpack a little bit whatever you'd like to share. So, you go through this horrific accident. You're laying there for 5 hours on the ground. When you wake up in the hospital, who's the first person you see? Are you coherent at all? Are you frightened? Seriously, are you frightened? Are you scared? Like, what's going through your mind?
It's interesting that you should ask that, because the title of the first chapter of the book is "Where Am I?"
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
The book starts at my waking up from the coma, and that's what I said. Where am I? It looked like a hospital room. The speech therapist was there. and he explained that I had been in an accident and in a coma. And I never did figure out why a speech therapist was in my room when I'm in a coma. I wasn't speaking very good, obviously, but
Well, yeah. So when you said you had to learn to walk again, mentally, were your arms? First, let me ask you: were your arms working? Was it mostly just your legs? And talk about that process, because that has to be scary.
yeah, it was. Well, my injury was a brain injury, and my right arm and my right leg didn't communicate with my brain efficiently. My arm was, I mean, I could type with both hands. I could do push-ups with both hands, but I couldn't throw a ball 10 feet with my right arm.
Right.
So my right arm was affected too, and my right leg was very affected. I can't stand on my right leg alone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was scary. And like I say in the book, one of the worst things was that when I was in the hospital and when I was discharged, the doctors, the physical therapist, nobody could tell me how far I would progress. Nobody could tell me my future.
It has to be scary. And
yeah,
did you find in situation, it's so, and I don't mean to sound glib, it's because I'm certainly not. People try to say the right thing, and you can see them struggling, and people change, and they think they're giving you support, and it's hard to explain. How did you handle all that? You're just trying to focus on your health, and it's wonderful and lovely that people come to visit you, but that's a long process. And of course, we lean on God, but if you can walk our listeners and our watchers through that process for you, and how you changed during that long rehabilitation period.
well, that's the whole book.
I was going to say, give a little tease.
It's 30 years.
Yeah.
I had been CFO at a hospital, hospital, clinic, and nursing home. So the first thing, one of the early chapters is about losing my job. And I was just taking one day at a time, leaning on God.
Amen.
God would bring me through. I didn't have a job for a lot of those years. I had what I call a fake job. Fake because they didn't pay a salary. They just paid me mileage for driving people to the doctor. But it was a good job in that it gave me purpose and gave me a lot of people to talk to and meet and talk about God, and though we weren't supposed to talk about God.
Because I think it was I'm going to quiz myself here because I didn't get through the whole book, but believe if it was chapter 7, I think it was called "Following God's Lead." Am I right? Is that?
I don't know if that was
okay.
7.
Hopefully, I'm right. If I'm not, I'll edit it out. But
there was a chapter with that title, yes.
But following God's lead. So, obviously, we don't want to give away the entire book. But if you wouldn't mind unpacking that just a little bit, following God's lead in terms of the impact in your personal life, in terms of when things were at their darkest, pushing through, that sort of thing. How did, because that, from when I first glanced over that was the one I had to get to that, because I'm interested to see. I always love to hear those kind of stories and whatnot. So if you wouldn't mind unpacking that a little bit.
What I'm referring to in that chapter is that I came to realize that God was going to use me the way I was.
Mm-hmm.
Or the way you are.
Or the way I are, the way I am. The way I am, it's tough. It's probably not right to say God wants me disabled. But on the other hand, it was part of his plan, and he's using me this way. And now through this book, it's just been phenomenal the way people are responding.
Yes, tell about it. How about the neighbor coming and saying
Our neighbor, who is in bad health, elderly in bad health, she said she had lost all hope. But after reading the book, she found hope.
Love that.
Wow.
Love that.
I love that. And even if I think we all in agreement, even if it just touches one life, and the fact that it's doing way more than that, like God will always provide, and it always exceeds our wildest expectations. And so, even though you hearing that, like, even if you don't sell a single another copy, no, we don't, this book doesn't, the fact that it impacted one life, like that is all that matters, and everything else in reality is a bonus, in my opinion.
And
but we know that it's going to be beyond that one person, of course.
And I can't even count the number of people who said they've been so inspired by it and encouraged. And the number that say they can't put it down. After I wrote my Word document, I hired a professional editor to edit the book. Because I wanted everything right. Her first email back to me said she started reading it and couldn't put it.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. But I have one thing though, is this is my kind of book. Like, I'm going to put it sideways so you can see, right? So like, I don't want the book like that's this, like, I like that, like, because I can chew on this. Like, I think something like this would be so overwhelming. Like, I'd rather have a part 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you see these books that are just this, it's like, I just can't. Even in life, I got the opportunity last year to do Life Christian University for a full semester or for a full year. And, there were some books that were massive. I'm like, oof,
Oofa.
Oofa, yes. Are you familiar, Don, with the concordance? Have you ever heard of the concordance? Or do you know what that is? If not, that's okay.
Concordance? Yeah.
So it's funny. So without getting too detailed, Darren, the concordance, it's basically this like picture 7 encyclopedia books together in one thing. I mean, it's massive. It's like this, but bigger. So I was getting my book for my class, which was something like this size, not too bad. What was the amount of pages? Like 97 pages, right? There's this concordance book in the back of my corner of my eye. And I was like, dear Lord, like, do we have to read a book that big? I cannot. Like, the class is 4 weeks long. I was like, there is no way I'm reading a book. And then I realized, of course, I'm, just starting out. So, no, this is a reference book. We don't read it from front to back.
You look at the
take all the time. But so I was terrified. I was like, oh no, that year, forget it. But thankfully that wasn't the case. But it's something we refer to, and because there's a lot of paper writing and the tests have a lot of fill in the blank, all that kind of stuff. So you need to refer to it. But terrified me. That's sad to share that.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So,
may I ask another question? And so, what was your process? I love talking to authors. I've been fortunate enough to speak to a lot of authors, and every process is a little different. Some, like Shelby Foote, who wrote the Civil War, just the works on the Civil War. He likes to get up in the morning and work out through the morning, and then stop midday and enjoy the rest of his day. People like to do it at night. So what was your process?
Well, when I decided it was finally time to put this all in writing, it was beginning of May of this year. I wrote 2 to 3 hours, or typed rather. I didn't write anything. I typed.
Right.
2 to 3 hours a day, I would say,
Mhm.
for 5 days of the week. And
Oh, so it was a full-time job.
Yeah.
no, less than that. I wouldn't.
Oh,
By
really?
noon or 1, I would be quitting for the day.
No, yeah, but you're typing for 5 hours. It's not like you're thinking extemporaneously. You have to give some thought as to what's going to come next. That's all I mean.
Yeah.
You know,
All that, it just flowed. God gave me the words.
that's beautiful.
I gotta
That's
tell
beautiful.
you, I gotta tell you one incident that happened when I was writing this book. You know, I said, count it all glory, because in James it says, count it all glory when you suffer because of me. I looked at it and said, Satan's attacking this thing. That's good.
Yep.
But I'm taking away, and I don't know how, whatever key I hit, the screen went blank. And I thought I couldn't get it back. Well, I thought, I'm going to get out of Word and come back into it and see if it does it. Well, whenever you get out, you got to save first. So hit the save button. I saved my blank file on top of my file. So when I came back in, it was gone. 3 weeks of typing gone.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. We talked, and it's funny. I'm glad that you shared that, Don, because we talked off air a little bit the other day when we kind of just made sure everything was working. That we love hearing stories in the show. We're more of a stories than we are like full cover questions and stuff like that. We love a good, love a good one. What do you call it? I remember. I might as well share this here because we love to. I have a few more questions I still want to ask, but. One of my favorite stories to share in regards to the church. So I sat for a little bit, and then I was asked to serve. And so I was going to serve on the entertainment, or they call it the atmosphere control team, basically like behind the scenes, cameras, all that stuff. And Rob Medina decided, he basically picked me up and carried me outside to sign up to be an usher. I don't know. That's what he moved me. So I was an usher and did that for a little bit, actually for several years. But I remember the first time that I was asked to go up because they were doing healing at this particular service. And I really knew I was baby in terms of that. I really knew. This is probably about 11 years ago. I knew very little about what that meant other than I've seen it on TV, and sometimes it's extreme and sometimes not. And I remember going up to the pulpit, and I'm noticing that the other ushers are standing behind the individuals up there. So that way, when pastors would lay hands on them, sometimes they would fall back, sometimes they wouldn't. And I remember one individual who I was behind, and instead of falling back, they were almost like they were clucking like a chicken in a way. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And so I'm like terrified because I'm like, okay, I'm a rookie in training here. I'm trying to be respectful. I'm trying to do the right thing. I really didn't get a lot of training on this. Everyone else had an easy, they either caught them if they fell backwards or they didn't fall backwards. But I got Sir Clucks a lot. She was just clucking everywhere, this way, that way. And they're watching me from the sound booth follow this poor lady around like in a circle. And I probably look like a neurotic mess just hopping around trying to, and, so I learned so much from that, in terms of like what that is. I got a lesson like 101 instantly on that. But that whole situation, it was just like, I don't know, I wasn't prepared, and so it's so important to, before you start serving, get yourself into, know what you're doing. There is learning on the job and learning all that kind of stuff, but man, I was not prepared. So I definitely did my homework, where to stand if someone does fall down, it's important. Those sorts of things. But again, I just can't get out of my head as I look back and seeing the people giggling and laughing and cackling in the sound booth at me, just following this poor lady around. So just had to share that. Shout out to Burger Man. Love to have a new subscriber alert. So thank you for joining us, Burger Man.
Thank
31.
you, Burger Man. Yes.
Good burger. I'm in a mood for a good burger. But
I love a good burger. I love a good burger.
Darren, I'm going to ask you this first, even though this is going to be directed to you, Don. But when it comes to writing in any capacity, whether it's in a book like this, or whether it's a paper, or whether it's dissertation, or whatever the case may be, there's always like the writer's block. And so I wanted to get your perspective on that in terms of whether it's creativity on a podcast, whether it's writer's block, that sort of thing on your end, Darren, like what that's like. And then I'd love to hear the opposite side from Don in terms of what that means.
So for me, I take the same approach I do when I give presentations and when I'm teaching, as I do when I write, or I'm thinking about what we're going to do on one of our podcasts. And that is, I go hard for 45 minutes, and then I walk away for 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go back to it. And I might do that over 5 or 6 hours, but I have hard breaks. I could be feeling the most creative juices in the world, but I have to stay true to the process that works best for me. And because I just know that subconsciously after 45 minutes, we've all been in presentations, right? After 45 minutes, you start glassing over, it's this or that. So you get just, I move, I go to the bathroom, I get, some more coffee, or just walk around, take a look outside, and I get very mindful, and that's all part of it. And I say with no hubris, when I went for my master's degree in education and I graduated cum laude, that was the process that worked best for me. 45 minutes, 15-minute break. 45 minutes. I'm a huge advocate of that.
Yes, and sometimes professors, teachers, speakers will forget to take that break, and you'll see people just get up. Like I had someone to the right of me that would do lunges in the middle of class just to
I think that's great.
Awake, stretch, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's very common. So same question to you, Don, in terms of this, looking at this book in particular, as you're working through that process, how did you, I know a lot of it is testimony and sharing your personal journey, but I imagine there was still some writer's block, or even if there wasn't, in terms of like how to kind of space this thing out, make it flow instead of just putting all the thoughts on paper. So if you wouldn't mind kind of sharing that a little bit.
Well, I don't think I really had writer's block because, like you said, I was writing down my life and it was all coming back to me as I wrote. So, but in terms of getting the flow to work right, it took some trial and error, and I couldn't imagine doing this in the old days handwriting.
Ooh.
But on Word,
No.
I would type and get things down first draft and sleep on it, as they say, go away from it for overnight, come back the next day, and I could move stuff around. That's why I say technology is so great now.
Oh yeah.
I would just take this paragraph or this chapter even and say, no, that guy was up there.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like when you're, sometimes you think, okay, this is a daunting task. And then you have all these thoughts in your head, like for example, in your book with the testimony, right? And so they're coming so fast sometimes where it's like, okay, they're coming down so fast. They still got to make this presentable, where like with like a good paper, like you can have all the best thoughts, but if they're not in the right order, they're not, the right format, all that kind of stuff, then it can feel jumbled to everybody else. I remember one speaker in particular who was delivering the most insightful, the most facts, so much great information, but this individual really didn't have any deviation, like personality. It was just like spitting facts. And so some people love that. They just want to be fed. Like others, they need a little humor here. They need a little high. They need a little low. They need to be on a journey, on a roller coaster. And I am the kind of person that need to be on the roller coaster. Others don't want the roller coaster. They don't want to be, fluff. They just want the meat and nothing but the meat. And neither is wrong. They're both good, just based on personal preference, I would say. But Darren, did you have any other additional questions? I wanted to, after that, I wanted to kind of give one final chance to you, Don, to kind of just share a little bit more in terms of, bringing home what the book means to you and and all that kind of stuff. But Darren, just wanted to let you
Yeah,
have
though the question, I want to ask a demographic question, and that is, when you thought of writing this book, who was the reader? Who was the person that you were writing it for?
Well, the people who people who could learn from my experience.
Love that. Love that.
You always told me it was inspirational.
Yeah, the category that you would call the book is inspirational. People who need encouragement.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yep. So, Don, just kind of summing up here in terms of the book, I just want to give you one final opportunity to kind of unpack anything that we might have not covered, because I don't want to give too much away, because you do want to encourage those to go ahead and get on Amazon, because Amazon is the place to go. I know we talked offline, there's some other small areas that do hold the book, but Amazon's your one-stop shop. It's under $11 for everything. Go ahead and purchase it. I can show you I know you have it as well. But this is what it looks like. Go ahead and go on Amazon.
And seriously, people, I'm not being funny. It's holiday season. Christmas is coming. Buy a few and hand them to your friends. Seriously, hand them to your friends. Why not? What a great gift.
I've had a lot of people, because I sell them out of my house too, and I've had a lot of people who ordered bunches, like 10 or 8. One lady ordered 8. One lady ordered 10. Gave them away as gifts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're perfect for if you have a connect group, if you're doing, maybe you're just having a fellowship time, maybe Bible study. It's good. It's great. But I want to point out, it says, it's probably be hard to see on the screen, but it says, if this book has blessed you, you can tell me about it at findinghopeauthor@gmail.com. On the back there. So that, just to confirm, that's a place where they can email with any questions and how it's
impacted. Contact me, yes.
Yeah.
Findinghopeauthor.com. Findinghopeauthor@gmail.com.
Gmail.com. Okay. Perfect. And I noticed, Don, too, at least in our welcome center, wouldn't call it I just call it a welcome center, our merch area. I believe there's only the one copy left that is standing up in there. So we're getting kind of low. Do you have additional ones that we bring in?
Yes, I have more to be bringing in.
So when when I got this one, the only one left was the one that was kind of at an angle, displaying the book. So it's moving in our facility for sure. So
that's great.
That's awesome.
I'll have to get more there.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
I
walked by it today because I stopped by the office. I walked by. I was like, "Oh, there's only one left. I gotta let him know."
And you asked about talking about the book. Yeah, I think we did cover it, but I just want to say again, it's to encourage people in their walk with God. I mean, I've been through so much, and God's always brought me through, and I've got a lot of Bible verses in there that are to help you through. So that's the goal of the book.
That's awesome. And please, I know one thing I explained, or I talked to you, Don and Darren, you know this already, is a lot of the people that will watch our content, some will watch it live, some will watch it the next day, a couple days later. I know Thursday night football, Sunday night football when we are on also. But we are encouraged. We almost double it in numbers the following day. So if you are not watching this live, but you're watching this later, tomorrow, the next day, the weekend, go ahead and please put in the comments any questions you might have, any thoughts, anything like that. Again, if you'd like a copy of this book, we can get in contact with you and let you know how to make that happen. If you're not local to Palm Bay at the House Church, and again, Amazon's the best place, but we'll make sure if you can find it, we'll provide the link, all that kind of stuff for you, so you can get that book. Again, the best $11 you can spend. So just let us know in the comments if that is you, not watching it live, but you're watching it the next day. And as always, it's funny, as we start wrapping.
Answer you too.
It seems to happen a lot where our viewers happen to hop on at this moment. So we have up to 14 right now. So shout out to you guys. I do, before we have final thoughts, I just want to give a quick update of what's to come here on the Around the Ballpark podcast. This Sunday night, it's been a while since we've gone there. Darren, we're going to be doing a little bit of a Sunday evening football roundtable with a couple returning guests. Not a full panel, but a few returning guests that we haven't had on, and maybe a first-time guest as well. Talk a little bit of football. So we're kind of getting close to that midway mark. Like which teams are pretenders and contenders and all that sort of stuff. But again, guys, we also have the big one coming up in December. The Around the Ballpark podcast is going to be at the Family Christmas Extravaganza. And with that said, guys, let me go ahead and just give you a little teaser. Not going to show the whole thing, but a little teaser of what that event is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and show that to you guys now. So there you guys go. That is a little snippet of the Family Christmas Extravaganza. It's actually a whole 5-minute video, condensed it into 2 minutes there. But that'll be taking place on Saturday, December the 20th from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. This year, we have, not only is Around the Ballpark going to have an area there, we're going to have a dunk tank, we're going to have a presence there. But also this year, we have 2 rock walls now. We're bringing back Extravaganza's Got Talent. First prize is $1,500, $1,000 for second place, and $500 for third place. So if you have any talent in the world, doesn't matter what it is that you do, doesn't matter your age, your church affiliation, because we have Z88.3 coming back as our judges this year. Super excited. Last year we had the morning show host. This year I can say that we're having both Shadow and Grace, who host the Z88.3 afternoon shows Monday through Friday. They will be there as the guest judges for the Extravaganza's Got Talent. It is a must-see event. We're going to have over 15,000 people there this year. So you want to make sure the weather is going to be beautiful. Make sure you're there at that event in December 20th. Darren will be there as well. So super excited for this event.
I'm so excited.
Let me ask you both real quick from that video. What stood out the most from there? For me, it was the confetti with the big check, that daily one there. But anything there that popped for you, Darren? I mean, probably all of it, but.
No, absolutely all of it. But the families, the kids, the laughter, the communal feel of that, the vibe that you got, you know?
Mm-hmm.
just all of that. That's what stuck with me. And again, could you just let everybody know how much tickets are?
They are FREE free. There is no
Love
charge
that.
for anything. So take your ID with you. You don't want to drive without your ID because a lot of
Right.
people will say leave your wallets at home. You don't want to do that because
No,
you know,
bad.
take your ID, maybe take your debit card if you need to get gas on the way. But seriously, there's nothing you pay for. There's no charge for parking. There's no charge for food. There's no charge for the entertainment. There's no charge to go on the big rock walls or any of the inflatables or the mystery big super awesome surprise that we're going to have. Either no charge for that as well. So definitely want to make sure that you come and you enjoy it. Leave the tablets at home. Stop playing. Put down the Snapchat for the day. Get off TikTok. Enjoy the cool weather. Pretend it's 1997 and we had to talk to human beings and not have to stay on our phones the whole time for a day. We can do it for a day, right?
Yes.
So, and we have some awesome prizes. We're going to be giving away 20 bicycles this year. We've got a ginormous fireplace, giving out another large screen TV as well, and some other cool surprises. So hopefully, Don, you'll be able to attend as well, depending on obviously health and all that kind of stuff for you and Mary, but looking forward to that. Don also comes when available to our Man Cave event monthly. I know you weren't able to make it this past week, but always love having you there. This next one, we're going to be partnering with Touch of Love, so that's going to be cool. Where men and women together will be coming and just sharing a meal together the day after Thanksgiving. So a lot of fun stuff along the way. So, but Don, any final thoughts before we shut this down? Anything you'd like to share, or any final questions or anything like that?
I don't know how this is going to sound frivolous, but you said the book was 11. The book is only 10.
10, like 10, is it just $10?
It's $10 on Amazon.
Okay. For some reason, I thought I saw $10.99, so I was thinking 11.
No, the ebook is $3.99. That's where you got your 99.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's right. Okay, perfect. So even better, folks. $10, not $11. Awesome. But thank you for your time. Again, like Darren mentioned, love having authors on. We were blessed to have, I think, 2 others on through our run here with the podcast, and we, like we mentioned to you before we came on to the Around the Ballpark podcast is not specific to just sports. We love talking about other things along the way to the game, to the event. And that's exactly what we're able to do here tonight on your Thursday. Thank you so much for making us a part of your Sunday and Thursday evenings. You could have been elsewhere watching Thursday Night Football, but you came and watched with us. So we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share with friends, family. You don't want to miss the next episode Sunday. If you're a fan of football, you're going to want to make sure you're here 8:00 p.m. this Sunday night. Darren, any final words?
Happy Halloween for those who celebrate, and be safe, be happy, and we will see you on Sunday night.
Yes, Sunday night. And even if you don't celebrate Halloween, it's okay. You could have a piece of chocolate tomorrow or something. Even if you don't do the whole thing, at least have a piece of candy. That we can find middle ground there. Have a Reese's, have a Butterfinger, have some sweet tarts, whatever. Yeah. But until next time, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Donald.
And we'll see you around the ballpark.
Guys.
Bye, guys.